Growing up in a small town, there was never much to do. There were no parks or places to spend time, and the nearest place to do anything like that was about 30 minutes away. As kids, we were very active and we enjoyed playing outside and things like that, but my parents decided that it would be great for us to learn an instrument or have some form of music education, and the instrument I chose was the piano. As a kid, I loved playing the piano, and to this day, whenever I get a chance to, I always find ways to play in my busy schedule, whether it's between classes or working out. I bring this up because I'm a firm believer that if I wouldn't have taken those piano lessons as a child, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. My name is Dennis Jackson, and today I'll be talking about why every child should be required to take a course on music or learn an instrument growing up. So, did you know that just by practicing for an hour a day on any instrument, it can help teach children patience, responsibility, boost self-esteem, improve reading skills, enhance coordination, increase math skills, encourage self-expression, increase memory capacity, and in cases of ensembles and bands, promote social skills. These social skills mostly come into junior high bands and things like that, and orchestras. If children begin playing and gaining these skills both mentally and physically, it sets them up for much better long-term success. And studies have shown that children who can play an instrument have increased eye, brain coordination, but this isn't the only thing that students who play an instrument were shown to have. Children with musical backgrounds were also shown to have an increase on standardized math and reading tests. This is because those students have much better and higher study habits than those who don't play any instrument. And these study habits root back to when the child was first learning how to play an instrument. And when it comes to first learning, it's a lot of challenging, and it requires them to put a lot of focus and studying into learning an instrument. These habits when learning an instrument quickly translate into schools and in the classroom because it is nearly the same learning process for both. In 2012, 112,000 high schoolers were asked to take a standardized test, and of those 112,000, 13% were students with a background in music or qualified as musical students, whether that be theater or choir or band. The results of these tests showed that the students who had played instruments and had been playing for years did 15% better than those who had not had any background in musical education or playing an instrument. These researchers established that the demand of learning music notation and developing the hand-eye coordination needed to play, and also learning key listening and developing team skills and ensembles and bands, helped students to learn better and had a higher cognitive capacity, and their self-efficacy was also shown to be increased. When discussing music education, one of the biggest factors that people talk about is its effect on the brain. But more importantly than its effect on the brain is its effect on the memory. And those who have studied music have been shown countless times to have an increase in long-term memory compared to those with no music education. This then in turn leads to better brain development in children who start playing music at a young age. The big point that I want to give is that just by practicing for, say, a little bit of time a day will have your child short-term memory improve and have many long-lasting effects that can set your child up for long-lasting success. A question asked a lot when it's comes to learning music is, when is the right age that my child should learn music? And I believe that we should teach them in elementary school. It's the perfect time to start teaching them because they're just starting their schooling regularly, and if we throw in music lessons at the same time, it could help just the process of learning. And courses could also take place during those early years of schooling when children aren't trying to learn harder courses, learning their sciences and maths. And these classes would allow for the children to have a fun and challenging class at the same time. And it also allows for their brains to develop even faster. According to research, these lessons don't need to be formal. They can just be the teachers teaching students and showing them the very basics, and students will still get the full effects of formal and traditional music education. The goal of these lessons in the early stages aren't to master an instrument, but instead to be able to develop skills such as memorization and identifying a rhythm or a beat in a song. And doing this in turn causes the same mental effect as doing a puzzle for most children. And it's one of the best ways to help increase a child's mental capacity and their development. To conclude my speech, I'd just like to recap some of the important points. The first point is that it doesn't take a lot of time each day to gain these experiences and train your brain. The second point that I want to bring up is that the music education should be required as a child because that it doesn't just affect grades and your schooling, it affects a lot of emotion for many people. And to a lot of people, there's no greater feeling than learning an instrument, especially when they were younger, and being able to carry those skills forward. And a lot would say it's impacted their lives forever. And I believe that everyone should have an experience like that in their life. And it's just a great overall feeling of pride and being able to take ownership in saying that you learned something as a young age and it helps your memory. So I'd just like to thank you for tuning into my speech, and I hope you all have a great summer.